It was supposed to be a night of glitz, glamour, and cameras flashing in unison as Hollywood's elite gathered for one of the most anticipated premieres of the year, the Marty Supreme premiere. A glittering red carpet stretched as far as the eye could see, lined with eager fans craning for a glimpse of their favorite stars. Photographers shouted over each other, their lenses capturing every high-heeled step, every tuxedoed stride, every forced smile. Invitations had been sent months in advance, guest lists finalized, VIP areas cordoned off with polished precision. But amid all this orchestrated perfection, one figure was conspicuously absent: Meghan Markle. But before we continue, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. The question that would grip headlines and social media alike was simple, yet shocking. How could Meghan Markle, a global A-lister whose every appearance generates headlines, be denied entry to a premiere she was expected to attend? What could have gone wrong in an event designed for exclusivity, celebrity, and public spectacle? And why did the incident spark a frenzy of rumors, theories, and outright disbelief across Hollywood and beyond? To understand the gravity of that moment, we need to rewind just a few hours before the premiere to the preparations behind closed doors. Meghan had reportedly been ecstatic about attending, meticulously planning her outfit, rehearsing poses, and coordinating with her security team. She was not just a guest, she was supposed to be one of the highlights of the evening. Designers had vied for her to wear their creations, photographers anticipated the Markle effect on social media, and fans had speculated endlessly about which designer gown she would choose. It was the perfect storm of expectation, prestige, and celebrity culture. But by the time she arrived at the velvet ropes and security checkpoints, the scene had already shifted from anticipation to tension. Reports began to trickle in. Meghan Markle, the Duchess-turned-Hollywood star, was facing an unexpected barrier, literally and figuratively. Security personnel, typically polite but firm in their instructions, reportedly informed her that her credentials were insufficient, that there was some confusion regarding her invitation, or worse, that she was not on the guest list at all. The exact details varied depending on the source, but the effect was immediate and dramatic. Cameras flashed as Meghan's entourage attempted to clarify the situation, but the moment had already been captured, frozen in photographs that would circulate endlessly. Imagine the mix of emotions she must have felt: disbelief, frustration, anger, embarrassment. Hollywood premieres are not just social events. They are stages on which reputations are displayed, alliances are formed, and hierarchies are reinforced. Being denied entry in front of cameras and a global audience could feel like a public rebuke, a personal slight magnified by every lens and every smartphone recording the moment. And the world noticed. Within minutes, social media erupted. Tweets speculated, Instagram stories analyzed body language, TikTok clips replayed security confrontations. The internet was alight with debate. Was this a mistake, an intentional snub, or something even more complicated behind the scenes? To contextualize, Meghan Markle's journey in the public eye has been anything but ordinary. From her early acting career to her marriage into the British royal family, every move has been scrutinized, celebrated, and criticized in equal measure. The challenges she faced, the relentless media coverage, the public debates about her role and influence, the subtle and overt pressures from societal expectations, all build a backdrop against which this premiere incident takes on a heightened significance. When someone like Meghan is denied entry to an event designed for people of her stature, it is not merely a logistical hiccup. It becomes a symbolic flashpoint, a moment loaded with questions about status, power, and respect. And yet, the intrigue doesn't stop there. Observers began to speculate about what happened before Meghan even arrived. Whispers of behind-the-scenes disagreements circulated. Had the organizers underestimated her influence? Were there clashes with other celebrities or their entourages? Could a miscommunication between security teams and event coordinators have triggered this public embarrassment? Each possibility opened a new narrative, a new layer of curiosity for the audience. The stage was set for drama not only on the red carpet, but in every conversation that followed. Now, let's zoom in on the crowd, the fans, and the media, all of whom were primed to witness something extraordinary. For many, the allure of celebrity is the unpredictability of what could happen next. Would Meghan gracefully step aside, refusing to make a scene? Would there be a confrontation, subtle or overt, that photographers could capture for posterity? Or would she simply disappear from public view, leaving rumors to fester and imaginations to run wild? The tension was palpable, and the cameras didn't blink. Adding to the suspense, sources hinted that Meghan's inner circle was mobilized immediately. Advisors, security personnel, and friends reportedly scrambled to navigate the situation. Private calls were made, emails sent, and urgent negotiations attempted, all against the relentless backdrop of flashing cameras and the scrutiny of thousands of fans. The pressure cooker of celebrity expectations, social media immediacy, and personal pride created a volatile mixture that no one could ignore. And then there's the human element, the emotional reality behind the headlines. It's easy to reduce Meghan to a symbol, a celebrity, a royal figure. But in that moment, she was also a person experiencing shock, confusion, and indignation. Think of it. You prepare meticulously for an important event, believing your presence is guaranteed, only to be told at the last moment that you cannot enter. The heart races, the mind struggles to comprehend, and every passing second feels like an eternity. That's the core of the story, not just the denial itself, but the raw, human reaction to being publicly uninvited. In parallel, the story began to ripple through Hollywood and social media like wildfire. Headlines questioned the decision-making of the organizers. Why was Meghan Markle denied entry? Exclusive, security snub at Marty Supreme premiere. Fans rallied in her support, while detractors debated whether the incident was warranted. Memes proliferated, each one highlighting a different interpretation of her reaction. Every angle, every narrative, and every speculative tweet contributed to a growing maelstrom that only magnified the drama. Even seasoned Hollywood insiders admitted surprise. "We've never seen anything like this at a premiere," one anonymous source reportedly said. "It's almost unprecedented for someone of Meghan's profile to be kept out. Normally, security bends over backward to ensure VIPs are accommodated." The contrast between expectation and reality added another layer of tension. Audiences were left wondering, was this a simple logistical error, or was there a more calculated motive behind the snub? And as the night progressed, the drama unfolded in real time. Meghan reportedly remained composed outwardly, but those close to her described moments of visible frustration and disbelief. Cameras captured fleeting expressions, a tightening of the jaw, a fleeting glance at the security team, a subtle shake of the head. Every gesture became a point of discussion, a potential clue to the unfolding story. Social media algorithms amplified the images, generating viral discussion and endless speculation. The premiere had become more than a celebration of a film. It had become a theater of suspense, a real-life drama that even the most dramatic script could scarcely replicate. But here's where the curiosity gap widens. What happened next? Did Meghan leave quietly? Did she confront the organizers? Were there apologies, explanations, or perhaps a calculated statement made in the heat of the moment? And how did this incident set the stage for broader consequences, in Hollywood circles, in media narratives, and in Meghan's public image? The answers to these questions would only emerge gradually, teased out through insider reports, leaked footage, and social media sleuthing. And the tension of that unknown kept audiences riveted, eager for every new revelation. The Marty Supreme premiere, with its glittering lights and glamorous red carpet, had unexpectedly become a battleground of emotions, power, and perception. For Meghan Markle, the night was no longer about celebrating a film or engaging with fans. It had become a defining moment, a test of composure, influence, and resilience under intense scrutiny. Every camera flash, every whispered conversation, and every social media post contributed to the mounting drama. And for the audience, the story was far from over. It had only just begun. By now, one thing was clear. This wasn't just a celebrity misstep or a simple logistical error. This was a story about expectations and reality colliding in the most public way imaginable. It was about power, influence, and the emotional consequences of being denied recognition in a world that prizes visibility above all else. And most importantly, it was about the human drama that unfolded when a global figure, accustomed to attention and respect, was suddenly, and shockingly, uninvited. The cameras kept rolling, The flashbulbs kept popping, and the crowd kept speculating. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. The evening air was crisp with anticipation as the city lights of Hollywood reflected off polished black SUVs and the gleaming pavement outside the premiere venue. Fans and paparazzi lined every possible vantage point, cameras ready, voices calling out names, flashes firing like staccato bursts of electricity. Among the glittering attendees and high-profile guests, all eyes were waiting for one figure, Meghan Markle. Rumors had swirled for weeks about her attendance. Was she going to wear a jaw-dropping gown? Would she arrive alone or with her entourage? The very thought of her walking the red carpet set social media into a frenzy hours before the event began. For Meghan, the night had been meticulously planned. Every detail had been considered, from her outfit choice to her arrival time, her security team carefully coordinating each step. Unlike other celebrities who might glide into a premiere with casual ease, Meghan's life in the public eye demanded precision. Each movement, each gesture, each interaction would be scrutinized by fans, critics, and journalists alike. She was acutely aware of this, yet nothing could have prepared her for what awaited. As the sleek black limousine approached the main entrance, the flashing lights of cameras reflected off the windows like 1,000 tiny stars. Meghan, sitting poised in the back seat, could feel the electricity in the air. Excitement mingled with nerves. She envisioned the red carpet, the smiles of adoring fans, the approving nods of fellow celebrities. This was meant to be a celebration, a night where the cameras would capture her elegance, her presence, her charisma. But reality had a different plan. The limousine slowed near the entrance, and Meghan's security team moved with practiced precision. They checked credentials, confirmed passes, and attempted to ensure a smooth entry. But almost immediately, a tension rippled through the air. One of the head security officers, a figure normally calm under pressure, stepped forward with a concerned expression. His words were polite, but firm. "I'm sorry, but there seems to be an issue with your invitation." Time seemed to slow. Meghan's heart skipped a beat. Issue with the invitation? How could this be possible? Every preparation, every plan, every assurance of attendance suddenly seemed precarious. The voices of photographers continued around her, cameras clicking relentlessly, capturing her expression, a fleeting mix of disbelief and restrained frustration. For the public, this might have seemed like a minor delay, a typical Hollywood logistical hiccup. But for Meghan, in that moment, it was personal. Every fiber of her being registered the anomaly. She, of all people, was being questioned at the threshold of an event she was expected to attend. The security officer gestured toward the guest list clipboard in his hands. "I don't see your name here. We need confirmation from the organizers." Meghan's security team exchanged rapid whispers, making calls, sending urgent messages. The air around the entrance thickened with anticipation and unease. Onlookers noticed the unusual pause. Some whispered rumors, speculating about who the mystery guest might be. Others recognized her instantly, murmuring names and trying to get a glimpse through the barrier. Every second felt like an eternity as the tension escalated. What made this moment even more striking was the contrast between expectation and reality. Normally, someone of Meghan Markle's profile would glide past such formalities, her presence acknowledged and accommodated without question. Yet here she was, standing at the very edge of entry, momentarily trapped in a liminal space between the glamour she anticipated and the uncertainty of denial. The scene was almost cinematic, the red carpet stretching endlessly, flashing lights illuminating the frustration on her face, the crowd buzzing with curiosity. And then, whispers began to circulate among the crowd and press. Some suggested a clerical error. Others speculated about more intentional motives. Had someone inside the event wanted to make a statement? Was this a subtle power play, a test of patience and composure? Every theory added a new layer to the drama, heightening the stakes not only for Meghan but for everyone watching. Social media, already primed with anticipation, began to churn with speculation. Within minutes, the world knew that something unusual was unfolding. Meghan, for her part, remained outwardly composed. Years in the public eye had taught her the value of control, of measured reactions. But those close to her later revealed the internal storm she was weathering. Shock, anger, frustration, and incredulity all jostled for dominance. Imagine standing at the threshold of a world that had always embraced you, only to be met with the unexpected wall of denial. Her mind raced through possibilities. Miscommunication, security oversight, an intentional snub, none of which she could immediately control. As the minutes passed, the scene became increasingly tense. The head security officer made more calls, his expression growing more worried with each update. Photographers, sensing the unfolding drama, pressed closer, their cameras capturing every microexpression. Fans craned their necks, straining to see the woman who had dominated headlines for years, and in doing so, transformed the premiere into something far more compelling than anyone had anticipated. In the midst of this, Meghan reportedly attempted a calm approach, trying to reason with the security team. Polite but firm, she requested clarification, explaining her invitation and status. Yet the response remained frustratingly vague. There was no clear resolution. Every attempt to navigate the barrier was met with procedural rigidity. To the outside observer, it was a logistical challenge. To Meghan, it was a personal affront, a dissonance between her expectations and the reality imposed upon her in a very public, very visible way. Meanwhile, cameras captured fleeting expressions from bystanders and other VIP guests who had begun to arrive. Some looked on with curiosity, others with a knowing glance, sensing that they were witnessing something extraordinary. The red carpet, typically a celebration of celebrity glamour, had become a theater of tension. Every whispered speculation, every sideways glance, every raised eyebrow contributed to the growing narrative. Meghan Markle, the poised, polished, globally recognized figure, was at the mercy of a moment she never anticipated. And then, a development that would only deepen the drama. A brief intervention by a mid-level organizer. She approached the security team, clipboard in hand, and began a discussion that was clearly urgent but still opaque to those observing. Phones were raised, whispers exchanged, and the murmur of the crowd grew louder. Rumors began to swirl. Was Meghan being purposefully delayed? Was this a test, a power play, a misunderstanding? The tension had escalated to a point where the outcome was uncertain, and every second was magnified by the attention of cameras and observers alike. At this point, Meghan's security team reportedly became increasingly insistent. They emphasized her status, her media impact, and the potential fallout of denying entry to someone of her stature. The argument was logical, persuasive, but it was met with procedural rigidity from the security officers, a clash between protocol and prominence that amplified the suspense. Every movement, every glance, every word became a focal point for both the assembled crowd and the millions following the story online. Imagine the psychological weight of that moment. Standing at the threshold of entry, fully aware that cameras are capturing your every gesture and that public perception is forming in real time. It's a pressure few could withstand. Meghan's composure, trained over years of scrutiny and public expectation, was tested to its limits. And for the audience watching, this was more than just a celebrity inconvenience. It was a human story of confrontation, frustration, and unexpected denial, amplified by the lens of fame. And yet, even as the minutes stretched into what felt like an eternity, the resolution remained elusive. No clear path forward presented itself. Security, adherence to protocol, and the chaotic energy of the crowd all created a scenario rife with tension. Social media algorithms, fans, and journalists were all amplifying the moment, further increasing the stakes. Every passing second made the outcome more consequential, and every observer realized that whatever happened next would dominate headlines. Then, as whispers and speculation reached a fever pitch, a subtle movement caught the eye of those paying close attention. Meghan's expression shifted ever so slightly, a mixture of resolve and incredulity. The crowd leaned in, cameras focused. What she would do next was uncertain. Would she attempt another plea, make a statement, or simply retreat in silence? The anticipation was unbearable. In that instant, the reality crystallized. This was no ordinary premiere, and this was no ordinary delay. The arrival, the confrontation at the entrance, and the uncertainty surrounding her entry had transformed the event from a glamorous celebration into a moment of suspense and drama with worldwide attention. Fans, critics, and fellow celebrities alike waited with bated breath. Every movement, every word, Every glance had meaning. And in Hollywood, meaning always becomes narrative. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. The moment had arrived when the premier's reality collided with expectation, and nothing could have prepared Meghan Markle for the surreal confrontation that awaited her at the entrance. For hours, her team had coordinated every detail, from timing to arrival logistics, assuming her VIP status would guarantee seamless entry. But at the threshold, with red carpet lights glaring and cameras flashing, reality hit. She was being denied entry. Within the inner circle, emotions varied widely. Security personnel focused on protocol and immediate problem-solving. Public relations advisors were acutely aware of optics, carefully crafting messages that would protect Meghan's image while placating media scrutiny. Friends and confidants grappled with the emotional reality of seeing someone they admired and supported being publicly challenged. Some were frustrated at the apparent oversight, others incredulous at the procedural rigidity that had led to this moment. Every conversation, every decision, was a balancing act between emotion and strategy. Sources close to the scene later reported that Meghan herself maintained a remarkable level of composure, despite the visible tension. Those who knew her best described a quiet determination beneath the surface, a mix of patience, calculation, and restrained frustration. She was assessing her options, considering every possible response, from quietly retreating to asserting her presence in a way that would command attention without escalating the situation further. In Hollywood, where image is everything, even a subtle misstep can become a global spectacle. Meghan's understanding of this reality informed every decision she made in those high-stakes moments. Meanwhile, her advisors scrambled to make contact with the premiere organizers. Calls were placed, emails were sent, and urgent messages conveyed the seriousness of the situation. Each exchange was strategic. They emphasized Meghan's VIP status, highlighted the potential public backlash, and underscored the absurdity of denying entry to a figure of her prominence. Yet even as they worked to resolve the immediate logistical challenge, the emotional undercurrent was unmistakable. Every passing moment in this public standoff was an emotional weight on Meghan and those who stood beside her. The narrative was further complicated by the presence of media coverage. Social media accounts captured snippets of the confrontation, often without full context, creating a swirl of speculation that her inner circle had to anticipate. Memes, GIFs, and clips proliferated within minutes, framing the incident in ways that were sometimes humorous, sometimes critical, and always scrutinized. Public relations advisors understood that each moment could define the narrative for the evening, and potentially for weeks to come. Crafting a response required careful consideration, the right balance of assertiveness, dignity, and restraint. Those close to Meghan reportedly emphasized calm and composure. They advised her to maintain a poised exterior, knowing that cameras and social media would magnify every expression. At the same time, they coordinated with security to assert her credentials and secure a path forward. Every step was deliberate, every movement calculated to protect her image while navigating a situation that had already taken on a life of its own. The stakes were not merely personal. They were public, political, and symbolic, touching on broader perceptions of respect, status, and influence. Friends and confidants added a personal dimension to the unfolding drama. Privately, they acknowledged the frustration and indignity of the moment, recognizing the emotional toll it could take. But publicly, they remained composed, reinforcing Meghan's poise and confidence. Their dual role, managing internal emotion while presenting a calm external front, underscored the complexity of celebrity life under constant scrutiny. It also highlighted the profound human dimension of the event. Beyond the headlines and social media narratives, there was genuine emotional impact, shaped by relationships, loyalty, and empathy. Inside the team, discussions were intense and immediate. How could they resolve the issue without escalating the situation? What steps could be taken to ensure Meghan's entry while minimizing public controversy? Could a private negotiation with the organizers succeed before the cameras captured a moment of confrontation? Every choice was fraught with risk. Every decision had consequences that would ripple through the media, social platforms, and public perception. The inner circle had to navigate this delicate balance, combining strategy with emotional intelligence in real time. Meanwhile, The crowd on the red carpet was growing restless, amplifying the tension. Fans and onlookers sensed something unusual was happening, and whispers spread quickly. Why isn't she inside yet? Is there a problem with security? Did someone forget to put her on the guest list? Each observation, real or speculative, added pressure. The spectacle had become a narrative of suspense, one that the inner circle was keenly aware of and had to respond to strategically. At one point, a senior advisor reportedly leaned toward Meghan, offering a strategic suggestion: maintain calm, wait for a clear confirmation, and avoid making any public statement that could be misinterpreted. They emphasized that the optics of her demeanor would be scrutinized endlessly, and that composure, rather than confrontation, would protect her image. Meghan, understanding the stakes, nodded and maintained her poised exterior, even as the internal storm of frustration and disbelief swirled. Simultaneously, her security team continued to press the issue with the organizers, presenting credentials, emphasizing VIP status, and insisting on clarification. The discussions were tense, measured, and professional, but time was running out. The longer the standoff persisted, the more intense the media coverage became, and the higher the stakes for Meghan's public image. Every second was a battle between protocol, perception, and the unrelenting gaze of a global audience. Meanwhile, the emotional undercurrent of the moment was not lost on those close to her. Friends and confidants described the scene as a mix of tension, incredulity, and quiet frustration. They recognized the profound psychological impact of being publicly challenged and the emotional labor required to maintain composure under scrutiny. In Hollywood, where appearances often dominate reality, this balance between internal emotion and external poise is critical. Meghan's inner circle was acutely aware of this, and every action they took reflected a careful calibration of strategy and empathy. The media coverage, meanwhile, intensified. Live feeds broadcast snippets of the red carpet, social media amplified reactions, and commentary poured in from every angle. Analysts speculated on the reasons for the delay, dissecting her demeanor, her interactions with security, and the unfolding narrative. Headlines such as "Meghan Markle held at red carpet in trance" and "VIP denied entry," a premier drama, proliferated. Each new report added fuel to the fire, reinforcing the need for her inner circle to manage both the logistical and emotional dimensions of the situation. At the same time, internal discussions considered the broader implications of the incident. What did this mean for Meghan's image in Hollywood, her relationships with industry insiders, and her standing in the public eye? Could a calm, strategic response turn the situation into a demonstration of poise and resilience? Or would any misstep be magnified, creating a narrative of embarrassment and vulnerability? These questions were not abstract. They were immediate, pressing, and high stakes, demanding rapid, thoughtful responses from those who understood the full weight of celebrity exposure. In the midst of this, one confidant reportedly suggested a private negotiation with a high-level organizer, away from the cameras, as a potential solution. The goal was to resolve the denial discreetly, allowing Meghan to enter with dignity intact. The plan was delicate, balanced the procedural demands of security, the optics of the public moment, and the emotional stakes of the situation. Every step required careful coordination, precise timing, and an understanding of both human and media psychology. As negotiations progressed, the inner circle communicated discreetly with Meghan, offering updates, reassurance, and strategic guidance. Her expression remained composed, though the internal tension was palpable. Every gesture, every nod, and every micro-expression conveyed an understanding of the gravity of the moment and the need to navigate it with intelligence, patience, and poise. And yet, despite careful planning and strategic coordination, the situation remained unresolved. Security, organizers, and Meghan's team were caught in a delicate standoff, each side adhering to protocol, strategy, and anticipation. The crowd remained vigilant. Cameras continued to click, and social media continued to speculate. The narrative had grown beyond the red carpet. It was now a story of human emotion, celebrity influence, and the unpredictable collision of expectation and reality. Then, just as the tension seemed to peak, a subtle development hinted at a dramatic escalation. A whispered conversation between security and organizers, a movement in the crowd, and a fleeting glance from Meghan suggested that the next moments would determine how the story would unfold. The eyes of Hollywood, the cameras, and millions online were focused, waiting, and expecting that something unprecedented was about to happen. But what came next would shock everyone and set the stage for a confrontation that no one anticipated. Hollywood has always been a place of ambition, influence, and meticulous navigation of power dynamics. Every premiere, gala, and award ceremony is more than a celebration. It is a theater where status, relationships, and social hierarchies are negotiated, often subtly, sometimes dramatically. The Marty Supreme premiere was no exception. Behind the glittering lights and polished appearances lay a complex network of influence, competition, and strategic positioning. And at the heart of the night's unfolding drama stood Meghan Markle, caught in a situation that illuminated Hollywood's intricate power plays in stark relief. When Meghan's arrival hit a snag, it immediately raised questions among insiders. Was this purely a logistical mishap, or was it emblematic of deeper Hollywood power struggles? The entertainment industry thrives on perception, and controlling the narrative around who is seen, who is celebrated, and who is subtly sidelined is part of the game. To be denied entry at a high-profile premiere was more than inconvenience. It was a flashpoint that revealed the tensions simmering behind the glamorous veneer. At the root of this situation were competing interests. The organizers, tasked with managing a high-profile event, had a delicate balancing act, ensuring smooth logistics while accommodating celebrities of varying influence and status. Some insiders hinted that certain factions within the organizing committee may have sought to assert control or send a subtle message through the handling of Meghan's entry. Whether intentional or accidental, the effect was the same. A high-profile standoff that amplified drama and forced attention onto her presence, or absence, at the event. Hollywood is an ecosystem of visibility and influence, and the red carpet serves as a stage for negotiating both. For Meghan Markle, a figure whose every appearance generates media coverage, her delayed or denied entry created immediate tension. It challenged norms and expectations, highlighting the delicate negotiations behind the seemingly effortless glitz of premieres. In Hollywood, appearances matter. Who walks the red carpet, when, and how can influence relationships, reputation, and career opportunities. By being denied access, Meghan's presence, and the attention she commands, was suddenly a point of contention rather than celebration. Sources close to the industry later revealed that some high-profile insiders viewed the situation as a demonstration of influence and control. In Hollywood, subtle gestures can signal power, controlling access, manipulating the flow of attention, or shaping who is foreground in media coverage. Meghan's predicament, held momentarily at the threshold, became a microcosm of these dynamics. It was not just about entry. It was about signaling, negotiation, and perception. Every flash of the cameras, every murmured reaction from the crowd, and every whispered conversation among organizers carried meaning. The inner circle surrounding Meghan was acutely aware of these power dynamics. Their strategy was not merely about gaining entry, but about navigating a complex social landscape where perception can shift reputations in an instant. Public relations advisors, seasoned in Hollywood intricacies, understood that how Meghan responded would reverberate far beyond the premiere. A moment of visible frustration could dominate headlines and social media conversations, while a carefully managed approach could reinforce her image as composed, dignified, and strategically astute. Meanwhile, other celebrities observed the situation with varying degrees of curiosity and calculation. In Hollywood, watching how a figure navigates adversity provides insight into their influence, status, and relational dynamics. Those present likely considered how Meghan would respond, what her handling of the situation revealed about her temperament, and how it might shift social hierarchies in the room. Each glance, each subtle gesture, each micro-expression became data in the intricate calculus of influence that defines Hollywood relationships. Beyond the immediate standoff, the power struggle extended into social media and public perception. Analysts, gossip columnists, and fans alike speculated on motives and interpretations. Was the denial intentional, a subtle assertion of dominance by organizers or other influential figures? Or was it a logistical oversight that reflected poorly on the event's management? Every angle contributed to a multi-layered narrative that amplified curiosity and engagement. In Hollywood, perception is often as influential as reality, and Meghan's predicament exemplified this truth. The tension also revealed the intersection of celebrity, influence, and media control. Hollywood thrives on visibility, and controlling who is visible, when, and how can shift power dynamics dramatically. Being momentarily denied entry, particularly for someone as prominent as Meghan Markle, created a spectacle that highlighted these dynamics. It forced the attention of media outlets, amplified social media engagement, and positioned Meghan in a narrative where her response would define the story for hours and days to come. Insiders noted that the situation was complicated by prior tensions and rivalries within Hollywood circles. While speculative, there were whispers that certain factions within the industry had conflicting agendas. For some, Meghan's influence and public profile represented both opportunity and competition. Controlling the flow of attention at a premiere, even subtly, could assert dominance, signal hierarchy, or influence perception. Every delay, every procedural challenge, and every public hesitation contributed to this intricate web of power plays. Meanwhile, Meghan's inner circle remained laser-focused on managing the optics. Their strategy extended beyond immediate entry to controlling the narrative in real time. Advisors coached Meghan on demeanor, anticipated questions, and planned potential interactions. Security remained vigilant, ensuring that logistical challenges did not escalate into physical or public confrontation. Every movement was deliberate, every decision calculated, and every gesture measured to balance respect for protocol with assertive management of her presence. Amid these tensions, the crowd and media continued to react. Fans cheered, whispered, and speculated, creating a live feedback loop of attention and expectation. Social media platforms exploded with posts, videos, and commentary. The hashtags began trending within minutes, each post contributing to the evolving narrative. In an era where public perception can shift instantly, Meghan's predicament became a touchstone for discussions about respect, celebrity status, and the subtle hierarchies that shape Hollywood events. Adding another layer to the drama, some insiders suggested that rivalries among Hollywood elites subtly influenced the situation. Subtle gestures, orchestrated delays, and strategic placement can all be tools to assert dominance or influence perception. While there is no direct confirmation of deliberate exclusion, the speculation itself added to the intrigue. For Meghan, navigating these unseen forces required a combination of composure, strategic thinking, and emotional intelligence. The stakes were not merely immediate access, but also broader perceptions of influence, respect, and status within Hollywood's intricate ecosystem. The psychological impact of these dynamics on Meghan was profound. Hollywood premieres are designed to celebrate achievement, influence, and style. Yet being held at the threshold transformed the event into a test of resilience, patience, and strategic acumen. Every decision, from how to respond to gestures, to managing expressions, to coordinating with her team, carried implications for reputation, media coverage, and public perception. The human element, combined with the highly performative nature of celebrity culture, intensified the emotional stakes. As the standoff continued, a subtle escalation occurred. Organizers, aware of the mounting tension and media scrutiny, convened urgent discussions. Security teams and VIP coordinators debated protocols, authority, and the optics of granting access. The drama was now multi-layered. Meghan's immediate challenge at the entrance, the inner circle's strategic maneuvers, the organizers' internal negotiations, and the crowd and media reaction all intertwined into a high-stakes theater of influence and perception. And then, just as observers thought the situation might plateau, a sudden development hinted at an impending resolution or escalation. A key organizer approached Meghan's team with a discreet signal, suggesting that a negotiation or concession was imminent. Cameras focused, social media buzzed, and the crowd leaned in. Every element of Hollywood's power dynamics was converging in this singular moment, poised to define the story in ways that few could have predicted. But what came next would not only shock those on the red carpet, but also ripple through Hollywood, media, and social platforms worldwide. And it was a move that no one saw coming. The moment Meghan Markle's standoff at the Marty Supreme premiere became visible to the public, social media erupted with unprecedented intensity. In the digital age, no red carpet drama remains contained. Cameras, smartphones, and live feeds ensure that every gesture, expression, and exchange is instantly shared, analyzed, and amplified. What might have been a contained logistical hiccup transformed within minutes into a viral spectacle, engaging millions around the globe. Twitter ignited first. Within moments, hashtags like hashtag Meghan denied, hashtag red carpet drama, and hashtag Marty premiere exploded in popularity. Fans and critics alike dissected every angle of the event, uploading short clips, GIFs, and images that captured Meghan's poised but tense stance at the entrance. Comments ranged from sympathy to curiosity to speculation. Some users framed it as a clerical error, others as an intentional snub, while a few suggested it was a subtle Hollywood power play. The immediacy of social media ensured that every observer, whether in Los Angeles or Tokyo, could witness the unfolding drama in real time. It began subtly. Security personnel, typically courteous and professional, approached with a clipped tone that immediately signaled trouble. "We need to verify your credentials," one officer said, clipboard in hand, scanning names and passes with a meticulous, almost mechanical precision. Meghan's heart sank. Verification? For her? The notion seemed absurd, almost theatrical in its irony. Here she was, an internationally recognized figure, poised to walk the red carpet, and yet, her presence was being questioned as if she were an unknown attendee. The first seconds were awkward. Meghan's security team, trained for crises and quick to act, stepped forward, presenting credentials, ID, and confirmation from the event organizers. Their voices were calm but insistent. They emphasized her VIP status, highlighted her public profile, and even referenced past appearances at similar high-profile events. But the response from the gate was unyielding. "We still need confirmation from the organizers," the officer repeated. Every word was measured, procedural, and inflexible. To the onlookers, it might have seemed like an ordinary security protocol. But to Meghan, the message was unmistakable. She was being treated like a last-minute, uninvited guest. The contrast between expectation and reality was jarring. Months of preparation, excitement, and planning had led to this moment, and now she was confronted with an invisible wall of bureaucracy. It was a psychological blow. Imagine standing on the cusp of an event you've anticipated for weeks, only to be told that your presence is not guaranteed. Every step, every decision, every gesture would now be scrutinized under the intense glare of public attention. The irony was not lost on Meghan. She was a global icon, yet at this precise moment, she was reduced to proving she belonged. Around her, the energy of the premiere intensified. The red carpet was a blur of activity, photographers snapping incessantly, fans craning for glimpses, fellow celebrities arriving and entering the venue with ease. Every successful entrance by another high-profile guest felt like a quiet taunt, amplifying the tension of her standoff. The moment transformed from logistical inconvenience to public spectacle. Each flash of the cameras, each whispered conversation among bystanders, seemed to underscore the extraordinary nature of the denial. Attempts to resolve the situation grew increasingly urgent. Meghan's security team made repeated calls to the organizers, pressing for immediate clarification. The conversations were tense, professional, and sometimes terse. Every minute spent in this liminal space heightened the stakes. For Meghan, the delay was not just about access. It was about respect, recognition, and the validation of her status. She had navigated public scrutiny, media criticism, and high-profile appearances countless times, but this felt different. This felt personal. Speculation began to ripple through the crowd and press. Some suggested a clerical oversight. Perhaps her name had been accidentally omitted from the final list. Others theorized about internal conflicts among the organizers. Had someone within the event wanted to make a point? Was there a subtle power struggle at play? Each theory added a layer of intrigue, feeding the voracious appetite of the media and the public. Every camera, every whispered rumor, and every social media post contributed to a narrative that was both immediate and evolving. Meanwhile, Meghan's demeanor remained composed outwardly, though those close to her described an internal storm. Frustration, disbelief, and indignation battled for control as she considered her options. Every second was a test of poise. Would she assert herself publicly, risk confrontation, or quietly retreat and regroup? The cameras captured fleeting expressions, a sharp intake of breath, a subtle tightening of the jaw, a pause that conveyed a mixture of control and restrained emotion. These micro-expressions would soon become talking points, dissected by fans and commentators alike. The interaction with security escalated. Officers, following protocol with unwavering precision, reiterated the need for confirmation from organizers. Meghan's team pushed back, emphasizing the absurdity of the situation. The clash between bureaucratic adherence and celebrity expectation created a tension that was almost cinematic. The crowd sensed it. They leaned closer, murmured among themselves, and captured every detail on smartphones. Social media, already primed with anticipation, began to buzz with speculation. Memes, tweets, and posts proliferated in real time, each interpreting the standoff in its own way. Inside the limousine, Meghan reportedly reviewed her options. She could step away, issue a statement later, or insist on immediate resolution. Each choice carried consequences. Retreating quietly might preserve dignity, but risk public criticism for not asserting herself. Insisting on entry could provoke confrontation, escalate media attention, and potentially make the incident more sensational. Every decision required a balance of poise, strategy, and self-awareness, and each passing moment intensified the pressure. The visual spectacle was striking. Meghan stood at the threshold of the premiere, framed by flashing lights, security barriers, and the gaze of countless onlookers. She was poised, elegant, and composed, yet the situation was undeniably tense. Cameras zoomed in on her expressions, capturing subtle shifts in emotion that revealed both surprise and frustration. Photographers and fans alike recognized the extraordinary nature of the moment. This was not simply a celebrity being delayed. It was a dramatic confrontation that had the potential to dominate headlines worldwide. As attempts to resolve the security snub continued, the crowd began to speculate audibly. Some whispered about organizational mistakes, others about intentional exclusion. Each theory added a new dimension to the story, increasing the curiosity and engagement of everyone present. Meanwhile, social media audiences were growing by the second, following updates, reposting videos, and theorizing about the reasons behind the denial. The incident was no longer a private challenge. It had become a public spectacle. Meghan's security team, acutely aware of the optics, continued to press for resolution. They emphasized her status, the potential fallout from the media, and the absurdity of the standoff. The discussion with security officers was tense but professional, a clash of protocol and prominence that underscored the stakes. Observers watched as arguments were exchanged, voices calm but insistent, each party trying to assert control over an increasingly volatile situation. Then came a critical moment. One of the organizers, perhaps realizing the potential media disaster, approached the scene. Clipboard in hand, she engaged with security in urgent discussion, gesturing toward Meghan and the limousine. The tension heightened as onlookers speculated about what was being said. Was there a mistake? A miscommunication? Or something more calculated? The uncertainty amplified the drama, making every second feel loaded with anticipation. For Meghan, the moment was a blend of surrealism and indignity. To be recognized, celebrated, and then denied entry, in front of cameras and the public, was almost unimaginable. Every instinct, every experience, every ounce of composure was tested. And for the audience, the tension was gripping. Every micro-expression, every pause, every glance became evidence in a narrative unfolding live before the world. The crowd leaned in, photographers focused, and social media waited with bated breath. The premiere, initially intended as a glamorous celebration of cinema, had transformed into a theater of suspense, with Meghan Markle at its center. The standoff at the entrance highlighted the collision of bureaucracy, celebrity status, and public expectation. And as minutes ticked by, it became clear that the resolution, whatever it would be, would have far-reaching implications, not only for Meghan but for the broader world of celebrity culture and public perception. Then, in a moment that no one expected, a subtle but deliberate movement changed the dynamics. Meghan's expression shifted, her eyes narrowing slightly, a quiet determination settling over her features. She had been patient, composed, and strategic, but now, with cameras and fans watching, she appeared ready to assert herself. The tension was electric, almost tangible. Every observer, from security to fans to fellow celebrities arriving on the red carpet, sensed that the next move would define the narrative of the night. And just as the moment reached its peak, the impossible happened. A direct challenge emerged that forced Meghan to make a split-second decision, one that could either escalate the situation or defuse it entirely. The outcome, unpredictable and unprecedented, would reverberate through Hollywood and social media alike. The red carpet, the cameras, and the crowd held their collective breath. But what happened next would shock everyone and set the stage for a controversy that no one could ignore. The red carpet, usually a meticulously choreographed display of glamour and celebration, had shifted from its intended purpose into a theater of tension the moment Meghan Markle's arrival hit a snag. Photographers clicked frantically, capturing each motion, each expression, each subtle gesture, knowing that the unfolding drama was far more compelling than any ordinary celebrity appearance. Fans and media alike were fixated, whispers rippling through the crowd like electricity. The spectacle had become immediate, unpredictable, and irresistibly newsworthy. As other stars arrived, the contrast was glaring. Well-known actors, directors, and socialites glided past the velvet ropes, effortlessly greeted by security, organizers, and fans. Their entrances were celebrated, streamed live across social media, and praised by tabloids. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle, an international figure accustomed to VIP treatment, was still being held at bay. Each passing moment magnified the tension, emphasizing the absurdity of the situation and amplifying the drama for those watching from every corner of Hollywood and the world. The first reactions came from photographers and journalists, the eyes and ears of the public. Cameras zoomed in on her expressions as she stood at the edge of entry, poised yet visibly tense. Some photographers captured fleeting moments of disbelief, a raised eyebrow, a subtle tightening of the jaw, a pause that communicated frustration held firmly in check. Every micro-expression was instantly analyzed and broadcast across social media platforms. Memes began to appear even before the premiere had truly begun, mocking, celebrating, and dissecting the unexpected spectacle. The instant virality of the moment underscored the power of celebrity in the digital age. A single flash, a single gesture, and a global audience was watching. Fans in the crowd reacted in waves. Many were supportive, shouting her name, applauding, and urging her forward. Others were more curious than sympathetic, speculating on the reasons behind the standoff. Whispers and murmurs circulated. Why isn't she allowed in? Did someone forget to put her on the list? Is this a power play? Each theory, true or imagined, fueled anticipation, creating a feedback loop between Meghan's restrained movements and the crowd's increasingly charged energy. Meanwhile, social media had exploded. By the time Meghan's dilemma became visible, news outlets were scrambling to report on it. Celebrities were tweeting in speculation, and fans were dissecting every angle. A live feed captured the tension in real time, the confusion, the waiting, the interplay between security and her team. Memes highlighting the contrast between her anticipated glamour and the reality of her hold-up began circulating, often blending humor with subtle criticism. In an era dominated by instantaneous reactions, there was no escaping the public gaze. Every hesitation, every gesture was scrutinized and interpreted. Among fellow celebrities, reactions were nuanced. Some were sympathetic, discreetly offering supportive glances or subtle gestures. Others, perhaps sensing the potential media storm, remained neutral or engaged in quiet conversation, aware that their own public perception could be shaped by proximity to the unfolding controversy. Observers noted the delicate balance each attendee had to maintain, appearing considerate without overtly influencing the situation, navigating an event now fraught with unplanned tension. Inside the venue, organizers were scrambling. They had anticipated red carpet arrivals, media coverage, and fan reactions, but nothing prepared them for the standoff with Meghan Markle. Emails flew, security personnel were briefed, and logistical plans were adjusted in real time. Staff whispered in corridors, debating the implications and potential fallout. Could the situation escalate further? Was it a procedural error that could be smoothed over, or a more personal slight that would dominate headlines for weeks? The stakes were high, and the pressure to resolve the matter swiftly and discreetly was intense. For Meghan, the public scrutiny was both personal and professional. Hollywood premieres are carefully curated stages, designed to maximize visibility and positive media coverage. Being denied entry disrupted not only the evening's plans, but also the narrative she and her team had intended to create. Every camera angle, every lingering glance from security, and every murmur from the crowd became part of a narrative she had not chosen. The tension was psychological as much as logistical, a test of patience, poise, and strategic composure under intense pressure. As the red carpet reactions unfolded, the media narrative began to take shape. Headlines speculated about the reasons for her delay. Meghan Markle snubbed at red carpet entrance, and VIP security denies Meghan entry at Marty Supreme premiere, appeared within minutes. Journalists analyzed her expressions, her posture, and even the timing of her interactions with security. Every detail was magnified, discussed, and interpreted, feeding a growing curiosity gap for audiences worldwide. The public's appetite for information was insatiable. Every new detail promised to shed light on a situation that seemed increasingly complex and dramatic. The crowd continued to respond dynamically. Supportive fans shouted encouragements, attempting to break through the barrier of security. Others speculated on her emotional state, interpreting her gestures as frustration, indignation, or strategic composure. A few onlookers recognized the broader implications of the moment. This was not just a celebrity being delayed. It was a public figure navigating a highly charged intersection of status, protocol, and scrutiny. For many, the incident encapsulated a universal tension, the experience of being undervalued or denied recognition despite one's achievements and expectations. Inside Meghan's entourage, advisors and aides were coordinating rapid responses. Every interaction, every potential resolution, every strategic move was considered carefully. Should she assert herself publicly? Should they push for immediate clarification from the organizers? Could a private negotiation prevent the situation from escalating further? Each option carried risks and potential benefits, but time was slipping away, and the public gaze was unrelenting. The psychological pressure of performing composure under scrutiny was immense, and yet Meghan's outward poise remained intact, a testament to her experience navigating high-pressure public situations. Meanwhile, the reactions of other celebrities and VIP attendees were equally telling. Some offered discreet nods of recognition, while others appeared to be caught in the spectacle, observing silently as the drama unfolded. Hollywood events are, by design, microcosms of social hierarchy, status, and visibility. In that context, Meghan's denied entry was more than a logistical error. It was a public display of tension and potential social negotiation. Observers understood that the implications extended beyond the premiere itself. It was a narrative about power, recognition, and influence in the entertainment industry. The dynamic between Meghan, her team, and security continued to evolve. Multiple calls were made, attempts to verify credentials were repeated, and discussions with event organizers intensified. Each exchange was measured and strategic, but every second heightened the stakes. Cameras captured the subtle interplay of frustration, strategy, and composure, each angle telling a story that would soon be dissected by global audiences. Every gesture was amplified, every glance scrutinized, and every micro-expression became part of the evolving narrative. Social media amplified the tension further. Videos circulated in real time, memes emerged, and speculation ran rampant. Fans analyzed every detail, comparing current reactions to past appearances, interpreting the visual and emotional cues of Meghan's responses. Hashtags trended within minutes, drawing attention from global audiences. The digital amplification of the moment transformed a logistical delay into an event of worldwide intrigue. And yet, amid the tension, there were moments of unexpected humanity. Supportive bystanders offered encouragement, small smiles of solidarity appeared among the crowd, and glimpses of Meghan's authentic reactions were visible through fleeting expressions. These moments, brief but meaningful, reminded observers that beyond celebrity status and media coverage, This was a human being navigating an emotionally charged situation under the relentless gaze of the public. The red carpet had become more than a ceremonial pathway. It was a stage for drama, negotiation, and human emotion. The story unfolding at the entrance encapsulated the collision of expectation and reality, power and protocol, anticipation and frustration. It was a narrative rich in tension, emotion, and spectacle, captivating all who witnessed it. And just as observers thought the situation could not intensify further, a sudden shift occurred. A subtle signal from the organizers, a flicker of movement from security, and a whispered conversation hinted at an impending escalation. Cameras focused, fans leaned in, and social media waited with bated breath. What would happen next would not only define the evening, but set the tone for headlines, speculation, and public perception for days to come. But what came next would shock everyone, and no one could have predicted the dramatic twists that would unfold on the red carpet. As the drama unfolded on the red carpet, Meghan Markle's inner circle was mobilized in real time, working behind the scenes to manage a situation that was spiraling far beyond their control. This was no ordinary celebrity delay. The cameras were rolling, social media was ablaze, and the public's gaze was unrelenting. Everyone close to Meghan knew that how they responded, every word, every phone call, every strategic move, could either mitigate or magnify the fallout. Her team, a tight-knit group of advisors, security personnel, and friends, immediately recognized the gravity of the moment. They had prepared for typical premier logistics, media interactions, and minor contingencies, but nothing could have predicted being confronted with a direct denial at the entrance. Tensions ran high as they navigated the fine line between asserting Meghan's status and avoiding a public confrontation that could spiral into headline chaos. Every decision was weighed against the risk of escalating the situation.